मकानी हूँ या आज़ादे मकां हूँ, जहाँ में हूँ या खुद सारा जहाँ हूँ. Am I confined into the four walls of my mind, or am I beyond all walls? Am I in the world? Is the world because of me?
There is development happening everywhere. Infrastructure is being built, markets are booming, growth is happening at a rate never seen before. And yet, around the world, there is great unhappiness. The environment is being destroyed, economies are in trouble, cultures are being eroded, people are migrating from villages to cities, poverty is on the rise, the gap between the rich and poor is rising, the sense of security is going away, infrastructure is collapsing. What is happening out there? Is it a problem of wealth generation, or is it a problem of wealth distribution? Or is it the problem of development itself? We see development only in material terms. Could it be that somewhere along the line we have forgotten development in emotional terms? Perhaps that is why our societies are becoming more exclusive than inclusive. In nature, might is right. Nature has no favorites. Every animal has got its strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats. Nature is the ultimate meritocracy. Humans seek to improve on nature because we refuse to be animals. We refuse to live by the law of the jungle. We want to give rights to the meek. And so we imagine a better world with different notions of beauty, righteousness and fairness. But the thing is, different communities imagine perfection differently. And therefore there are different cultures around the world. In India, there is a story of two gods who were brothers who went around a race 3 times around the world. One of them flew around the mountains, the continents, the oceans and the stars. The other simply twirled around himself 3 times and declared himself winner. When asked for an explanation, he said, "I went around my world. You went around the world. What matters more?" Culture is my world. Culture is how a community sees the world. Let us look at the different ways in which people eat food. How Indians eat food as compared to how a classical Western meal is served. In a Western meal, you eat exactly what the chef has prepared for you.
We have the 2 sets of glasses here, the smaller one for white wine, the larger one for red wine. The cutlery we have reflects the number of courses. We can have soup, a starter course, and then the main course.
In a classical Indian meal, you mix and match the food, so what you taste is very different from what was cooked in the kitchen.
An Indian thali, unlike how you eat in the West, everything is served on the thali together, from the desserts to the rice to the vegetable.
Let's look at music. If you listen to Western classical music, the notion of harmony dominates. Western classical music has a linear beat. Indian classical music has a cyclical beat.
The whole concept of rhythm is cyclic. In comparison to a Western concept of rhythm, which is linear, when we say linear, it's either 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So you can't call this a cycle. Or it's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Whereas in Indian concept, the cycle goes, let's say a 16-beat cycle. I'll recite and say, dha, din, din, da, da, din, din, da, da, din, din, da, da, din, din, da, da.
Indian classical music, the concept of harmony does not exist. And look at the markets, a supermarket or a hypermarket, everything is about efficiency. The aisles are once again in a grid-like format. While in Indian bazaar, people are sitting in clumps, in groups. It looks apparently chaotic, inefficient, but everyone knows where the buyer is, where the seller is, transactions happen, business is done. It is just very different from the Western market.
Well, I really prefer buying from the mall, you know. The food is absolutely latest batch and everything. Besides anything, it's well stacked, well aligned.
Now let us look at the streets of India. A traditional Indian street will meander through, go left and go right. The streets are never crisscross each other perpendicular. So if you go to the city of New York, the roads are organized in a grid-like pattern. If you observe carefully, there is consistency in the way food is eaten, music is composed, and cities are designed in the West. They are all linear. In India, they tend to be cyclical and spiral and non-linear. It indicates two different ways of thinking which manifests culturally as two different things. Almost 2,500 years ago, they say Alexander reached the banks of the river Indus. And there he met the naked wise man whom he called a gymnosophist. And he asked the gymnosophist, "What are you doing?" Because the gymnosophist was just sitting on a rock and staring at the sky and the stars. And the gymnosophist said, "I'm experiencing nothingness." Then the gymnosophist asked Alexander, "What are you doing?" And Alexander said, "I am conquering the world." Observe the difference. What is the right way to live life? Experience nothingness or conquer the world? If I have to experience nothingness, this gymnosophist believed you live infinite times, and therefore achievements don't matter. Alexander believed you live only once, and therefore achievements matter. Where does our developmental model come from when we talk of development, when we talk of cityscapes, when we talk of growth? The developmental model does not come from India. It comes from the West. It comes from the Alexander's point of view, which is linear, which is achievement driven, which is about this being the one and only life, and hence the sense of urgency. The point of life is to achieve. The point of life is not to understand. Development was seen in India for thousands of years very differently from the way development is currently seen in the West and is now becoming the global way of development. Traditionally in India, since you live infinite lives, development is about developing your thoughts, developing your mind, developing your beliefs. But in the linear construct of the West, development is about things, about acquisition, about conquest, about reaching a particular goal. And that is what we see in society today. An increased Western orientation. And why is this? Because the Western mindset spread to every corner of the world through imperial and industrial forces.
Before development came, the so-called development came, what happened to our people? They've been living for thousands and millions of years. You mean they didn't have a life? They didn't have any happiness? They didn't have food? They had no ritual, no customs, no work? It all arrived with the Western discourse of development? No. The true story is, development is a way for markets to be developed. We are creating a market model.
अभी इंग्लिश का ज़माना चल रहा है ना, तो हिंदी का वैल्यू तो ख़त्म हो गया। अभी जो करेंगे, जैसे हम लोग हैं, पहले हम लोग की गरीबी थी, हम लोग पढ़ नहीं पाए। अभी बच्चे लोग को जहाँ से करेंगे उससे अच्छा पढ़ाएंगे, इंग्लिश ही पढ़ाएंगे। अभी हिंदी का तो ज़माना गया।
In Greek mythology, when a monster attacks the hero goes about killing it. So you have the story of Bellerophon, who destroys Chimera, that is part lion, part goat, part serpent. But in Indian mythology, a monster is seen as a form of divinity. When Arjuna faces the beast, which is a composite of 9 animals, part rooster, part peacock, part elephant, part human, part deer, part tiger, part lion, part bull, part serpent, he bows in reverence, because what is not understood need not be invalid. He therefore includes the other, the mysterious, what cannot be controlled. So the approach to uncertainty, the approach to mystery is very different. One seeks to organize and solve it, the other seeks to understand it and allow it. What do you think is better for the global discourse? The modern discourse of globalization is actually a Trojan horse. Within it is the linear, finite discourse of Western origin. It is the discourse of Alexander, which celebrates achievement. It is the discourse of the Bible, which celebrates compliance. It ignores the possibility that one can spend one's life not achieving, not complying, but introspecting, understanding, and growing emotionally rather than materially. Something interesting happened 500 years ago. We rejected matters of faith and preferred things with empirical evidence. In other words, we became rational and scientific. And in this worldview, the world was divided into haves and have-nots. And economic theories came about, wealth generation and wealth distribution. And we wanted to make the world a better place through wealth.
The foundations of capitalism were built on 2 fundamental principles: individual entrepreneurship and profit is the ultimate being. The whole of the narrative now in the world is, you are not successful as a writer or as a painter because of a good book or a good painting. You're successful if you're able to sell it at a high number.
So to generate wealth, we set up industries. Industries destroyed the environment. Wealth was generated, but it was unequally distributed, which led to social injustice and unfairness, which led to economic turmoil.
Capitalism has an inherent contradiction. It is profit-driven. Profit is exclusive. I cannot make profit unless I exclude people unless I make profit at the cost of somebody, or at least by not including others.
गांव में खेती था तो कंपनी बन रही थी वहाँ, तो कंपनी ने मेरा खेती ले लिया, घर का खर्चा चलाना, बहन का शादी करना, इसके लिए अब सोचे यहाँ गांव में गुजारा नहीं होगा, अभी मुंबई जाना पड़ेगा।